Can you take us back though? What was going on in your life?
The
30
dark,
years ago.
You were thanks for asking that about the dark thing. But the dark's a relative term. You know what I mean? Growing up in a house where people said one thing and did another. Nobody's fault. I'm not blaming anybody. But there's a misinformation system in dysfunctional families that says if you don't look at it, it's not really there. If you don't talk about it, it'll just go away. The behavior that we do is because we love you. There's a lot of crazy, I'm not a clinician. I do a lot of clinical groups. Like I'll be at this place today for probation department working with inmates, right?
And you do that all across the country. I saw
everywhere.
a video of you,
It's a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And I don't say this a lot, but I get to work with a lot of people who are injured like I was. And I'll always tell them, listen, you're going to do what you do until it stops working, then you're going to do it a little while more. So in the families that we have, some of us were instructed poorly because the instructions were wrong. But we keep telling the same story, expecting something else to happen. So I get to break the chain a little bit, with my kid. I got a 9-year-old boy. I got 3 kids from 3 different women. There's dysfunction in my history. So going back, I just thought I'm smarter than the system. Criminality is a flexible relative term, right? I mean, I'm a comedian by trade, but if you want to know the truth, what I could write on the tax return, I'm a guy with a mental illness who's learned how to market that as a skill so I can pay a lot of child support. That's what I
But you have turned it into a career.
Well, it seems to have shifted that direction, but I started out in jails and rehabs and shelters and prisons, a place I used to live, just volunteering. And the career was almost accidental. I know there's no accidents, but it's just something I liked to do. And if you love what you do, I know you two are in this camp. You love what you do, it's not work.
Absolutely.
It's a passion and a pursuit and a path. A career, that's a good label, but there's no path for what I do. So it's a little bit lonely at times, and it's hard because you're cutting a new path through the jungle. Nobody did it before. Tell somebody you're going to go do a prison tour. They go, what's that mean? Exactly.
Yeah, right. They don't know.
So, no, they don't know, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, too. Was I yelling there? I feel like I was
No,
yelling.
you didn't. That wasn't too bad.
Sorry, I get like that. Hey everybody, Mark Lundholm from the Mark Lundholm Show. Welcome back. I mean that with all my heart. I love the fact that you'll listen or watch and pass on some of this stuff to people you care about. Today's special title, episode 511. Episode 511, Service Specialist. Now, when I say those words, what'd you think of? First thought, Service Specialist. I remember when I came up with the title for this episode, I thought of mechanic, and that's one of the ways I'm going to mean it today. But the guest we have today, his name is Bob Greene. People who love him and know him, I'm one of those folks. They call him Pacer. When Bob was a younger male, he drove an AMC Pacer that he'll describe it better than I ever could, but it is a singular piece of mechanics for the American automobile industry. It is one of the cars you never forgot when you saw it. And it was his. He drove that early on. He couldn't afford to drive much more. But he was Pacer to the ones who loved him, right? Because of the car he drove. Now, his name's Bob Greene, and he's a very dear friend of mine, has been for a long time. We'll be talking to him in a little bit. The point of today's episode is when you are a specialist, how do you make that work for other people? How'd you get to be a specialist in the field we're talking about? I'm a linguist. I like language. I'm a specialist when it comes to taking certain words, massaging them, connecting them, separating them, dissecting them, and putting them into an order that seems to work for whoever was asking me to use those words. Talking to you, certain way to use words. Speaking with my son when he's got a question about life or love or something important, similar, but not the same job, right? We're using language to go from what we don't know to being fully informed. Story from my past. I got off a Greyhound bus and I had an earring, right? It was an onyx earring. So it was a black spot with a gold setting, right? And I had that. I was probably in my 30s. Got off a bus in Alabama. And a guy said to me, he says, you some kind of out of town. And he used a slur, right? That referred to maybe my sexuality. And he said that to me. And my first thought, wrong. Second thought, wrong. Third thought, punch him. Fourth thought, he's bigger than me. Fifth thought, it's Alabama. Sixth thought, here's what I came up with. I said, oh, no, sir, that's a birthmark. And he goes, oh, okay then. All right, because we don't like your type around here when you go that other direction. That was his thing. But he didn't like my earring, the fact that I was a male wearing an earring. And I said, it's a birthmark, and he walked away. And I thought, that is truly funny, because I called him an ignorant bigot in my head. And it turns out that's a redundancy. Ignorant bigot? That's like saying hot sun, wet water, right? Nice shower. When is a shower not nice? Do you need a shower? They're always nice. Ignorant bigot. Well, that's not what I want to be, and that's what I don't want to become. So when it comes to the lesson of specialist, right? I have a language expertise, right? I like it. I like words, right? And sometimes they happen through me. I said all that to say this. Service comes in a lot of directions. We can call it military service. You can do restaurant service. I don't know about you, but a service to my family as a dad or a breadwinner. Service to my community. Service to my fellowship. I'm part of a group that helps other alcoholics and people who are addicted to substance abuse and trying not to be anymore. I'm in service to the community that is incarcerated. I spend a lot of time in service to the universe. I've been given a lot. Why not give some of that back in the form of service? Our guest today, Bob Greene, Pacer Bob, Pacer to the people who love him intimately like some of us do. He's been a lot of things. Service specialist at many, many, many levels. He served in the Army. He is the shop owner and creator of Brutal Scoots. Brutal Scoots. He makes bikes, custom-made motorcycles, and fixes anything that has two parts or more. He is a mechanical specialist. He also... we go way back. Bob has a penchant for helping other people. True story. In the 90s, I would go down to the West Palm Beach Comedy Corner. Comedy Corner was a comedy club inside this Broadway-type theater, and they had a comedy club there that ran 7 nights a week. Can you believe that? Back in 92, 94, 96, 91, I started going to West Palm Beach, Florida, to work at the Comedy Corner, and Bob was one of the people that came out to see me. He was part of the Third Tradition Motorcycle Club. Third Tradition Motorcycle Fellowship. They had patches, they had colors, they had membership, they had dues to pay, and they had a guidelines book to follow. They were a real club, but they were all about sober guys. So these guys would come to the show with their wives, girlfriends, and their bikes. So one night after a show, I'm going out in the parking lot. There's still about 10, 12 bikes out there. And this big guy, this big, scary at first, lovable teddy bear guy, he says, hey, how'd you like to go with us? We're going out to the Palm Beach County Drug Farm next week. Palm Beach County Drug Farm. I thought, how progressive is a state in this country where they let you actually go visit the drugs people are growing, right? Palm Beach County Drug Farm. Well, I don't do drugs anymore, but I'm interested in the question. It turns out that Bob was part of a group that went to visit this county program, incarcerated individuals, a bunch of guys and women, they had a women's unit too, that were in jail for drug-related offenses. Palm Beach County Drug Farm was run by the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department. And sure enough, the next weekend, I stayed in Florida an extra few days to go to this thing with them. And it was Christmas. It was close to Christmas, probably the 15th, 16th, 17th, somewhere around there in December. And they took all their bikes And all their people, there must have been 100 of us that went in a procession, a bike rally. At the front of that rally was a full, long, boat-sized convertible Cadillac, and it was red. That convertible Cadillac that was red, we had a guy dressed up as Santa sitting with his feet on the back seat and his butt up on the trunk because the top from the caddy was down. And we drove from the place we met, some Walmart parking lot somewhere, to the Palm Beach County Drug Farm. Must have been 30 miles on a highway back to the little rural roads. Rural, that's a roadside sobriety test where I come from. If you can say rural road, you get to keep going. So we get to that particular part of the state, and we're in a big procession. I'm the Santa Claus in the Santa Claus suit on the back of the caddy. That's what they wanted me to go. They wanted me to go do a show, be part of this thing where we were bringing toys to the guys locked up, the women locked up, and their families who were visiting on that Saturday. So I'll never forget this. We pull up to the main gate, and the main gate of the Palm Beach County Drug Farm is right next to a main highway, and there's cars. School's out. A lot of cars have kids in them. And I see this kid. And he's looking at the caddy, and he's looking at me, and he's looking at all the bikes, and he's looking at where we are, and he's looking at them opening up the gate. And I can't help but this kid's first thought wrong is, Santa's going to jail. He's going to jail. Santa's going to jail. There's going to be no Christmas. He's got all his friends and he's going to jail. And I can see him right there. And my first thought was I started giggling. And one of the COs goes, "Hey, Santa, what's funny?" I go, "Kids out there think Santa's going to jail and not coming out." And he goes, "Maybe he won't." I said to him, "Hey, don't be funnier than Santa, man. You don't get to be funnier than Santa. Not today." It was one of the best trips we've ever had, and it started a long-term relationship between Bob Greene, the Third Tradition Motorcycle Fellowship in Florida, Mark Lundholm, and I want you to meet my friend, Bob Greene. Welcome back to the Mark Lundholm Show. This is episode 946. I made that number up. I am thrilled to be able to do this show, especially when I get to talk to a buddy of mine, former military man. He's a husband and a father and a very dear friend. He's involved in some processes that he and I hold dear. Personal became passion. And every once in a while, I get to choose a guest that I really have no fears about talking to, because I've been talking to this guy for damn near 30 years. Mr. Bob Greene, welcome, my brother.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you and I, obviously, we go way, way, way back. We'll include the audience in on some of those stories in a second. But the reason I asked you to do this show is because I came up with the title Service Specialist. And honest to God, you were the first person I thought of. Service to the country, service to the family, service to, right now, what do you do for a living, Bob? Tell the peeps.
I own a little mom and pop motorcycle shop in Delray Beach, and I service motorcycles.
and you build them too. Like you could build one from the wheels up, yeah?
I've built a few. I haven't built one recently.
Okay. All right. And Bob, if you haven't caught on already as a listener out there, Bob Greene is he's a very humble guy. He's one of the biggest forces in nature I've run across in recovery. I'm a recovery guy, and every once in a while I used to go get to work in the state of Florida with Palm Beach County, either a drug farm, which is a jail that specifies in drug treatment, or some kind of rotation of organizations that want to raise money for people who are misinformed, misguided, misdirected, or incarcerated at the time. Bob did a lot of that work with me, side by side, front to back. Really a lot of fun. They called you Pacer when I met you. What's that about? They called you Pacer Bob.
Yeah, well, when I first got clean and sober 30 something years ago, I was rolling in dough and had a lot of toys and stuff. And in the first year of my recovery, that all kind of went away between the ex-wife and legal fees and IRS and a lot of things kind of stacked up on me. And I ended up being a pedestrian. It went from having a fleet of cars to, riding the bus. And somebody gave me a car that had been abandoned in a parking lot. And it was a 1976 AMC Pacer, blue with one yellow door and 4 different size junkyard tires on it. And it beat riding the bus, but not by much.
Yeah. Well, humble beginnings, a lot of us have come from humble beginnings to even humbler, more humblest situations like, hey, I can't get out of my own way. I sure don't have a business to run that I started. I'm not my own boss. Do you remember those early days with the less than a few months clean and sober? Do you remember that?
Absolutely. It was, well, first of all, I wasn't one that, I didn't work a lot before I got clean and sober, not anything legal anyway. And so it was a whole different thing for me. I didn't get the whole blue collar thing. It looked like, quite frankly, work looked like too much work for me.
Yeah.
So I kind of, lived under radar and did a lot of things that didn't require much effort, just a little fearlessness and chemical backup.
Sure. And were you a biker for a long time before that? Before the getting sober?
Yeah, independent. I never rode with a club. It's funny. I never put a patch on until I got sober. Because I figured I had done enough stuff on my own to get shot for without, wearing somebody's symbol on the back. That, so the first patch I ever put on my back was a clean and sober one. So
the clean and sober motorcycle world is at least 3 groups I know about. Are there more than that?
Oh yeah, there's quite a few of them. There's probably 100, 150 nationwide.
Okay.
And they have chapters everywhere.
And the basic connection is we're not drinking or doing dope anymore. We're not drinking and using. We still love to ride. We still have a family membership. The patches you talked about, the pledges, right? The guys who they're trying to earn their way in, and do you still do some of that?
Not so much. I'm still in contact with all the guys because of the shop, but I found it to be, for me personally, a little too political, and for some reason, every weekend we ended up down at some other club's clubhouse, watching them get hammered and listening to bad rock and roll and standing in a parking lot sweating. So me and a fellow you might remember, Billy Crane. Billy Crane said, let's do something where we don't have to do that. So we started an outfit that we made sure that we were not a club. We are a clean and sober service organization called Rule 62. Yeah. And a highway sign for a patch.
I really wanted to hammer on the word service speaking to you, because I know that I've counted on you many times, and never once have I been disappointed with the help you've put out or offered. I know that there's a I would die for you, brother kind of attitude in any military branch. A lot of that goes with the fellowship too. I would die for another clean and sober brother if it was necessary or called for, right? Again, service is the word that I include Bob G. Pacer. I'm so not used to saying your last name.
Well, it's quite the opposite for me. I've been saying Lundholm for a long time and getting from that because, you mean Markel, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, listen, that stuff is so beneath whatever attention you and I get for it. So, question here: going from the service of being in the service of the United States, right? What was the thing you did with all your time after serving the country? What'd you do? What'd you find to do? Because there's a vacuum there, it seems.
Yeah, it wasn't my shiniest moments. I was a disgruntled guy with addiction and pretty violent, and angry, and it's 12 years from the time I got out of the service to the time I got clean and sober. And honestly, they were the worst 12 years of my life. In and out of prison, a lot of violent stuff, a lot of drug stuff. Not real pretty, not real pretty. And in the end, I finally figured out who to do in to make it all go away. It was me. And a set of circumstances that'll never repeat themselves in my lifetime led me to getting clean and sober, and it changed my life. And saw that, for the first part of that, I was kind of hoping that God was grading on a curve, and I tried to, do the best I could because I thought somebody was keeping score. But then after a while, something changed, and I remembered some of those values that I was taught in the service. You don't leave anybody on the ground. Everybody goes out, everybody comes home. And if you ask anybody that's been under fire, they'll tell you the reason they fight isn't because of, mom, apple pie, or a flag, or even some officer telling them what to do. They're fighting for the guy on either side of them. They're fighting for the guy on either side of them. They don't want to let him down, and they don't want him to get hurt. And, I carried that with me, but through a lot of chemistry, I lost sight of it.
Which is easy to do, to be fair. Did you have that in your family growing up, that we don't leave anybody on the ground? Everybody goes, everybody comes home. You do it for the one next to you. They do it for the one next to them. Did you have that growing up? Was that instilled in you as a child?
No. And it's funny because I lean that way. I was cavalry, and part of the reason for that was John Wayne movies when I was a kid. I was a little kid when I wanted to be John Wayne, and really, that was it. I wanted to be the Duke, and by the time I was 29 years old, I was so far away from that I lost sight of all of that.
Is that how old you were when you got sober? Pardon me. 29? So did I. I didn't know that about us. I honest to God, I'm sorry for the distraction there. It's just kind of, wow, 29, me too. And tell me go back to the little kid, Bob, who I know had at least one sister.
6 sisters, 5 brothers. Apparently mom didn't spend a lot of time standing up.
Listen, you grew up in the Army. What the hell did you have to join?
Exactly. I wanted to muster out as soon as I could. I left home when I was 15.
Yeah, and was that because it was too crowded, too crazy, too calm? Tell me.
No, it was. I was raised by drunks, and my whole family. Out of 12 kids, there's only one that never picked anything up.
Oof.
And she's a outhouse rat crazy. She just, displays it in other ways. That's the baby of the family.
Yeah.
My father was much like yours. My father was a real bully. He was a schizophrenic, belligerent drunk, and he would come in the door whistling "Danny Boy," and an hour later somebody was going to the hospital. So I couldn't wait to get out of there. And there was no camaraderie there either. Everybody kind of fended for themselves.
Yeah, listen, I grew up not anywhere near as big as that. We had 5 kids in our family, but I recognize some of the behavior, the toxic, the schizophrenic. and the frightened that I was. That geez, no matter what I do, it doesn't get better. No matter what kind of grades I get, it doesn't get better. No matter how I say things, I say like you told me to say it, and it still doesn't get any better. I mean, as a kid, that confusion, how does that fuel the fierce or the anger for you? I know what it did for me, and there's other people who are listening, and I know they're speaking the language, but for Bob, how did that confusion fuel you?
Well, I committed a violent act when I was 15. I went to prison at 15. I tried to take my old man out. I went to prison for it. And after a while, a judge reviewed my case, and I got the opportunity to serve in the service rather than I could do 2 for Uncle Sam or finish my 10 for New York State. I took the 2 with world travel. And, it was funny. I kept going from a more and more violent place, everything. It seemed like the answer to violence was more violence, even in the service. It's like I was getting rewarded for things I couldn't tell my mother about.
Yeah.
I couldn't write them in a letter to my mother. So I just stopped writing. And, so when I got out, that's when I really went off the chain. But that stuff, that not knowing, not being able to do the right thing. And like you said, it's like you would do what you were told, but then they would change the rules. like that wasn't the right thing to do anymore. And starting with my old man and going on up and up and up. And the joint was the same way. They put me in a youthful offender program, and they put me on a tier with guys that were 16 to 20 years old who had already killed people. And that wasn't my case when I got there, but
right.
That's where I went, and that ended poorly for me. I ended up in a hospital getting shanked by a guy, and moved me to another facility, and it just seemed like it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter, if I tried to be the good guy or if I tried to be the bad guy. It just didn't matter. And then what set in was, and what I thought was, it's just me. There's something wrong with me. I mean, even other people don't like me. Eventually, I was on their side. I didn't either.
Yeah, and whether we convince them or they convince us, we're not going to change. We deserve what we get. I might as well sign up for more. Pain is not optional, right? So you grew up in a house that was warlike. You went to a place incarcerated that was warlike. You went to war. What did you see? What did you see in the war that you couldn't forget when you got home?
Well, I was a door gunner, and my third mission out, I sprayed a crowd, and I was being told to, but they were awfully little, them people.
Yeah.
I still have that dream every once in a while.
Bob, I've known you a long time, and I've known you a long time, and what I got to say is, we're friends, and I love you, and I don't have a problem ever telling you that in front of 1,000 people or just us, but I don't know that I've ever met a gentler man in my life. How the hell does that happen? A door gunner, inmate, broken boy, and a kid in a family where on your best day you can't please anybody, including you. How does that guy become a gentleman pacer Bob?
Well, a lot of time and a lot of soul searching with people who had been down the road a little bit before me. And, one of the problems I had in early recovery was this wasn't going to work for me because, I was too shameful to ask God for help. And 2, I didn't think it would work for me because I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve it. I just didn't deserve it. By the time I got clean sober, I didn't deserve it. And the guys around me told me, you're exactly who this is for. You're exactly the guy that this is going to work for. And, and of course I didn't believe him, the first couple of years I was sober, I just, this is just killing time. I could, I don't know if they call that a reservation or not.
Well,
I
it can
I
be.
was waiting for the balloon to burst. Things, and it's funny because things happen really good for me really fast on. I mean, by the time I was 5 years sober, I met Joette in a parking lot at a McDonald's in Boynton Beach, Florida. I'm like, really? And I was seeing somebody else, and she was married. And we looked at the way that all happened, and it's just, that's incredible. And I just kept putting one foot in front of the other and doing what I was told, and helping out when I could. I started out trying to help folks. Like I said earlier, kind of hoping God's grade, not a curve. 51-49, you're in. That kind of
Exactly.
deal. But something changed. Something changed because it became not about me. It became about them. The first time I saw somebody that was doing really well in recovery, just walk away from it, turn left, and go and get tore up, and I'm thinking to myself, that's the last thing this guy needs in his life. Period. It's the worst possible thing that could happen to him. And he went and he did it. And it tore me up for him. It wasn't about me. It was about him. I just, I had to hunt the guy down and corner him and say, look, man, let's try something else. But this ain't working for you. This ain't working for you. And let's see if we can do something else. And it kind of kept me up at night. It made me make phone calls to people, my mentors, and made me say a lot of prayers. And, I started to notice that over time. The worst curse God can give a sociopath is a conscience. I was doing right. Fine. So I started caring about people. Because the rest of you are a lot of work. I don't know if you know that or not.
Well, some of us are more work than you are, but not many. And you and I have laughed and cried together, and we've done shows together, we've done events together, we've done service together in that area of expertise. Maybe that's too strong a word, but I don't think so in your case. I think you're a service specialist, and the reason that I wanted to talk to you about this topic is, given the current climate where it's like every man for himself, and I'm not talking about 12-step or fellowship or recovery-based people. I'm talking about the world in general. Every man's for himself. I got to get mine. I can get famous on social media in one post. I don't have to stay consistent as long as I am attractive and well-liked and popular and rewarded, right? That immediate gratification thing, it's more pandemic than maybe the COVID-19 stuff was. What do you recommend for somebody who's new? Okay, let me take these in order. Who's new as a family man? Give him a shortcut. He's new as a family man.
Well, this is, I don't know any other way to put this, but first off for me, because I lean so much the other way, is me last. Everybody else in my home comes first. My needs are last. I mean, they tell you, in first responder school that, the first responders get taken care of. I don't think so. Sorry about that. Excuse me.
That's all right. It's probably just a sponsee in need of a lifeline. Never mind.
Yeah. They tell you that you're supposed to take care of the first responder first, so he can take care of others. Right. You know what? I've never been short on anything. I've never been lacking of anything, and I'm just not really a needy kind of person. So, I don't think about that stuff too much. But I make sure that my household has what it needs. I make sure, I'm the guy that sits down and does homework with his kid.
Yeah.
That doesn't go over well in the bike shop. The big, rough, tough Toothless
Well,
tattoo. I'm
yeah,
sorry, I
but
got to leave your chopper. I got to go home and do homework with my kid. They just like, really? Yeah, really. Yeah.
Let's be honest. Something that your dad wouldn't have done for you, but you
Right.
can do for your
John,
son.
and I hate to steal one of your lines, but
Oh,
I have a list of things not to do.
yeah, yeah. He did that for us, didn't he?
Yeah.
Not to do as a man, not to do as a father, not to do as a husband, not to do as an employee,
Right.
not to do. If somebody's early in recovery, do you have a nugget for them? If they're brand new to recovery and they come out shaking their head, they just got their first full breath or their first step on the sidewalk, and now it's what the fudge brownie's going on. Have you got a shortcut for them? You having 30, how many years now sober?
32 last September.
Okay, so 32 years sober. There's some stuff you know about not relapsing, about not going back to chemical. There's some stuff you know, fact. Can you hand one of those nuggets to the new guy right now?
Yeah, I know that no matter how bad it feels, it just isn't. I know that your head lies to you. I know that all the cliche stuff that I used to really hate, all the stuff on the walls in the rooms, this too shall pass. What I suffered from in early recovery was a lack of emotional stamina, and anything that was uncomfortable or I didn't look good doing well, I didn't want to do it. And eventually, the dragon wins when you feel bad enough long enough. You take something or do something to change the way you feel. And what I tell new guys is, look, you're supposed to feel bad right now. You're supposed to be uncomfortable. There's an element of confusion and angst that goes along with all of this. And if it wasn't, you would be back out there ripping and running again in no time. This is savor some of this because you're going to need this, a little way down the road when that, Corona looks like a good idea.
Yep.
One little Bacardi Breezer, what could that do? Well, what it could do is start up a chain reaction. It can't be stopped.
So how old's your boy now?
14.
Oh, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I remember your bit on it. It was this big, this big.
He literally, he literally fit between my fingertips and my crook of my elbow. Grayson's 13. He's challenging like a teenager that you have, Bobby, right? And little Bobby, probably not as little as he once was, of course, but little Bobby, big Bobby, what do they have in common right now?
Well, we both make mom nuts.
Some traditions have to endure, my friend.
He has my lazy streak. That's for sure.
Oh,
he is fundamentally lazy. I have to poke and prod him every once in a while to get him to move, and he doesn't sometimes like to listen. And it's not about not hearing; it's about not listening. And he's getting a little bit better at hearing now. For a while, we had a joke. It was. If we were going back and forth about something and he heard me say alligator, that was the code word, like, for rough sex to knock it up, alligator.
Yeah.
That was it. You're done. And he asked me one day what that was about. I said, because alligators live to be 50 to 75 years old eating stuff that's both smarter and faster than they are.
Yeah.
So he caught on to that real quick.
I used to say to Grayson, when I realized he wasn't paying attention, I'd say, no matter what I was talking to him about, I'd say, and then the dog jumped over the log, and he would be, and that would be, I was snapping the chain like, hey, I know you're wandering off the yard here. Come back, pup, because I need you to hear this and then listen to it. First of all, I need you to hear it, and I want you to file it away somewhere because it's important. Not everything I say is important. I mean, I'm me. But we want our sons, daughters, children, we want the next generation to maybe not go through what we did by not being the person our peeps were, or the people who raised us or adopted us or guided us. But there's so much the same. There's so much similar. between your boy and you, between my son and me. I got a daughter. Courtney just turned 32 yesterday. I know you know who she is.
Wow. Yeah, my middle daughter will be 36 tomorrow.
So they got some of us in them. That's a fact. What do you tell the parent that has the kid that hasn't shown up yet? The kid's young, new, fresh, brand new, born. There's going to be some of the parent in the kid. What do you want to tell the parent, shortcut wise, to look for and what to do when they see it?
I had three daughters that were like raising a platoon of drunken soldiers. But with my son, because I'm older and more settled and had some experience,
Yeah,
it's different. Telling somebody new, especially somebody that's young, I was 48 when Bobby was born, or 50 when Bobby was born. So whatever, around there someplace. Math, not my long suit, apparently. I was a different person. When I had my daughters, I was in my 20s and wasn't done being a kid myself. And a lot of that kind of shows up in parenting today, especially with guys. Moms are obviously more natural, but guys are, I don't know when we stopped being selfish. For me, it was, my mid 30s, I think.
wow.
Yeah, maybe late 30s. But being a parent, not a sperm donor and a check writer, a parent is a big deal, and it takes concerted effort and attention and you don't want to hover over them, but you also don't want to let them raise feral kids. That's what my parents did. My parents raised feral kids, and then were amazed when they did something ridiculous. I never taught you that. Well, basically, you didn't teach me anything.
Yeah, I used to stop my mom at "you never taught me." She'd say, "I never taught you to do." I'd say, "You never taught me." You could stop right there. Don't waste the rest of your breath on that sentence. And that was anger talking. But you and I, we're in a fellowship that says service to others is part of our own recovery. And service can mean out of self. That can it's super simple definition. The world needs service agents, people who are willing to serve, meaning I'm going to sacrifice something I can, and I'm willing to help you, not waste a lot of time trying to figure this out on your own. I'm not going to big time you. I'm not going to granddaddy you, but I want to tell you, young blood, ... How do we make that not arrogant or boastful or better than, bigger than? How do we carry that message as, hey, I want to help you. Here's what you need to know. I don't want you to wait 15 more years.
Right. You know what? I have kind of like an in-law whose daughter is seeing a guy that's 10 years older than her, and he's a hammerhead, and he's got addiction problems. He's got PTSD. He's got, all kinds of stuff. And that's kind of the problem I'm having right now with him is how do I deliver this and let him know, look, first of all, I was there. I did all this, and you want to know how it comes out? Not good. What you see here today isn't the result of that. Recovery from that is what you see the result of today. So you start out with, I've already been there, and I know how this dance ends. Not pretty, but I also know some stuff you can do to shut it down now before it gets out of hand and it becomes a way of life that you chase for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
I think I didn't party any harder than any other kids when I was a kid till I stopped being a kid. And then I took off with a vengeance. But when I was a kid, I drank beer like the guys that drank beer around me and stuff like that. If somebody had told me that, trying to stay up all night and do all that stuff that all them other kids did would have led to what it led to and cost me 12 years of my life, I
Yeah.
probably would have tried to listen.
Sure. I said sure, kind of waiting which direction we were going to go there. That could have been support. It could have been, yeah, all right, Mr. Man.
This is the
Hey,
hardest thing to overcome. And I'm not saying that as a crabby old guy. I am a crabby old guy, but that's not why I'm saying that.
I don't find you to be crabby. I know that why you say something is to help people. You are without a doubt one of the probably top 5 people on the planet I've ever met that is involved in service and means it without any recognition. Thank you, nothing. I don't know where you learned that. I'm going to guess it was early on in childhood that, geez, I want to be of service and I want to be the best part of this worst case scenario. That leads us right into hero trying to rescue somebody from your own father, trying to make sure that the nation is a better place, because that's a horrible place to have to go open the door of the chopper and let go. And no matter who I'm told to hit, I do it. And I go to sleep at night best I can, knowing that I can't sleep. I heard everything you said today. I've watched you for years, 30 plus. That we've both been here. I'm a little behind you in recovery, but you were here when I was new, and I remember you being a caring, loving soul. And I laughed so hard at the stuff you would say that just came out of your mouth. I thought, I'm a comedian, but Bob's really funny, man. How has funny helped you in every level of service?
Absolutely. Otherwise, you'd sit around crying all the time. It's recovery side of it. We deal with some of the saddest situations: broken families, people prostituting themselves for chemicals and alcohol, and all the illegal stuff, and in and out of jails and in and out of hospitals, and it'll wear you down. It just, if you didn't see the funny side of some stuff.
Yeah.
There's a line I wanted to use that I've been thinking about, and I didn't want to wax too religious, but there's a line that every version of religion on the planet has a line that's the equivalent to, "I am my brother's keeper." And you either are or you aren't. And if you are, you need to do things to support that. I believe that we're pack animals. We're herd animals. And I know this about me and several people like me, and you included. When we go to harm ourselves, it's by ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't take a crowd with us. We're alone. And that's where it leaves us, is alone. And the worst thing anybody can feel is alone. And not on a planet that's overcrowded, And so I try to do things that will make somebody feel less alone. And I try to live my life in a manner that doesn't make me a burden to those around me. I like to give back stuff rather than take. I spent a long enough time taking. I think there's maybe it's a little arrogant nobility, but I kind of like the idea of being a good guy. I like the idea. I like Pacer Bob. I didn't like Bob before Pacer Bob, but I'm you know what? I sleep pretty good now, and I do the right thing every day because it's the right thing to do. And if I got more than I need, somebody else can have it. And if I got and on days when it's tough, I don't need that much. I need less, and you might need some more. So take what's mine.
I love you, Bob. I appreciate you saying that, like that. Very eloquent today in this call. I'm always impressed. You and I have spent an hour on the phone, and we've spent six minutes on the phone. It's always impactful to me. I want to thank you for that. This is a question I ask every guest. So here comes Bob Greene's turn. 5 years from now, in a perfect world, where are you and what are you doing?
hopefully living with a PO box in an RV someplace far from a motorcycle shop and whatever college Bobby's in. No, that's probably the one thing of recovery that I cling on to too much, and that's the one day at a time thing. Because especially here
Yep.
lately, you don't know what's happening next. I got friends
Nope.
that have lost their businesses, and I go to work every day so far,
Yeah.
so far. So
Yeah.
I'm blessed,
Well,
and
I,
I'm blessed to have a friend like you, and
Yeah,
several friends like you, but you in particular.
I appreciate you saying it like that. We have a lot of history together. We got a lot of similarities growing up. There's a lot of recovery path that we've been on the same, but even parallel. Florida. I live in California. I'm going to see you shortly. I'm going to talk to you about that when we're done here. But I want to say that there's a way to get into the type of service you're in. And a lot of us have been invited to do that. You're an exceptional case, my friend. It's time for everybody gets to do this too, that comes on this show. Shameless plug for Bob Greene. No limits, no boundaries. What do you got? Go.
A shameless plug. What
Yeah.
does that mean?
Well, talk about what's Bob got that he wants to pitch, that he wants to promote. I mean, get some for yourself.
I don't have anything. I'm drawing a blank there.
Where can they find the bike shop?
1801 West Atlantic Avenue in Delray Beach.
Okay, and the name
The
of the
phone
bike
number's
shop
been the
again?
same since 1992.
Okay, is it still Brutal Scoots?
That's my name. That's what I build bikes under. I haven't built one in almost a decade.
Okay. What's the name of the bike shop, Bob?
Delray Cycle.
Delray Cycle,
Yep.
Delray Beach, Florida, right?
Yep.
Can they look you up online?
Yep. Yep. Got a website.
And you
I'm
got
told I
merch,
have
you
a
got swag.
Facebook page. I wouldn't know how to find it. I don't know.
You
that's
think
funny?
you have a
You ever
Facebook?
seen my
Yeah.
Twitter account?
Bob, I'm afraid for you to even tell me what a Twitter account would be in your life.
I don't have a Twitter account. I was joking.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for messing with me.
Don't have Facebook. Don't have a Twitter account. The bike shop has Facebook, but I don't have
Okay.
that stuff.
So Delray Cycle has a Facebook page.
Yep.
All right.
And, right after we get off the air here, I'm going to have Bobby show me how to get on it. I'd like to
Okay.
see what's there.
You tell that little 14-year-old version of you that the world is ready for him when he's ready for the world. I love you, brother. Thanks for being on today.
I love you too, and my pleasure. My honor.
All right. You take care. Kiss Joette for me.
Absolutely.
All right. See you, brother.
Bye.
Now, as you listened to my friend Bob talk, Pacer, he's a good storyteller. I'd love to say I can compete with him on any level, but that's just not true. He's got a way when he's in his element, out of a home that probably feels to some of us like a cage. Bob is a way out there kind of guy, out in the wilderness, out in the woods, out in the desert, out in the ocean. Bob likes and needs room, right? Bob asked me one time how I dealt with all the crowding in the community when it comes to comedy. How do you deal with the crowded part? Like there's always people around, people want something from you. I said, you know what, Bob, just like you, Bob was a soldier. Bob was a warrior. Bob used to sit in the first row when I'd be doing a comedy show, and when people would clap, for a comedian, an applause break is an exclamation point. The group likes it if they laugh. The crowd smiles, they're okay. If they chuckle or snort, whatever, if they, that's a good sign. But when they clap, after a joker story, you did it. It was like, boom, that was out of the park. Bob had his own applause. He would go, "Hoorah!" I'd hear him wherever he was. I'd be in Florida somewhere, and I'd hear, "Hoorah!" That was my friend Bob in the audience. Sometimes I didn't know he was coming to the show, but I always knew when I heard that from that guy. It never changed. Hoorah, Bob. Great having you on the show. I'm so glad he was here today. How many times did you hear him talk about being in service? You know, in service to somebody other than self. When I'm talking to a group of inmates, inpatients, soldiers, a group I'm supposed to be doing like process stuff with, mental health, some kind of guide toward different healing. I always ask them, service, doesn't it mean out of self? That's it. Service to my son, out of me. Service to my partners here in the studio, not all about Mark Lundholm. When was the last time you did service to somebody? Just a question for you if you're listening. And what did it do for you? I'm pretty sure that out of self means I'm not supposed to get anything from it. But I got to be honest, I've never done service to any group or audience or prison or hospital where I didn't get a lot out of doing it. Case in point, I went to a shelter for moms, and it was called the Mandana House. It's in Oakland, California, and it's a recovery living facility for pregnant women. And I was doing a show there on a weekday morning. This is back when I had first started doing comedy on a voluntary basis. I probably had a year or two sober, 88, 89, right? The year there. For you young people listening, yeah, I'm still alive, okay? Don't remind me. I was younger back then, and I was faster on my feet and real quick with my lip. And I said to the lady in the front, I go, "Gee, how pregnant are you going to get?" She was big, right? And I said, "You look like the baby's been in there 11, 12 months already," right? They start laughing some. She went into labor right then. I guarantee you it wasn't more than 4 seconds later she went into labor, right? We had water. We had pains. She had the baby, and we had to stop the show. She had the baby right there. It was that fast. And I remember thinking that I thought I was the center of attention because I had walked into the living room. I did comedy in the living room for these ladies. There was probably 9 or 10 women there, all of them pregnant at the time at some stage. Nobody liked this lady. She looked like something that you had made to make fun of a pregnant woman. And she was beautiful and loving, and she couldn't wait to have her kid, but she was big. So I walked out with a beach ball under a very loose sweatshirt. I walked out with a beach ball. They hadn't seen me yet. "Hey, we got a comedian. He's going to come out and talk to you. He's going to entertain you guys. His name's Mark L. He's from Oakland, California. Come on out, homie." And I come on out, and I got a beach ball under this sweatshirt. So my first line was, "My comedy coach told me, always try to authenticate yourself and have something in common with your audience." And I did it deadpan, and nobody laughed. Nobody. You could hear tick-tock, tick-tock. There was one of those old clocks on a wall on my left where you know what I mean? And it was embarrassing, humbling. The beach ball routine went flat. It didn't bother me so much as having to take the beach ball out and straighten out my sweatshirt and having to basically start over again with women who were at least uncomfortable. Any stage of pregnancy, women, this is what I heard, they suffer some form of discomfort, you know. I've never been pregnant. I probably won't be anytime soon, but this is not the best audience to do comedy, but I'm not going to quit. So a couple minutes in, I start gaining some momentum. They're laughing a little bit or smiling. I get them. Why? Because this is what I was put on this planet to do. I can make funny out of almost anything. Almost anything. I can use that humor muscle to twist or pull or yank or shove or drag or smack without a felony charge. Humor does all those things. It makes a group malleable, and if they're already vulnerable and very easy, like clay, to manipulate, boy, that's a good group. Anybody who's in need of some healing usually wants some kind of care. Humor has a way of providing that. Didn't you think Bob was funny? Bob's got a good sense of humor. Bob makes me laugh harder than most people. If he and I are talking on the phone, I can't drive sometimes because I got to wipe my eyes. Bob is a singularly unique individual when it comes to telling a story. I'm going to have him on again, I know. But I thought that one of the poignant things was about how he is a dad now and how he is a family man now. Bob's got a wild streak. I know more about Bob than Bob is probably comfortable me telling you, but he said it. He said it. Not always the nicest guy in my youth. Not always the best decision maker. But here's the thing. You don't have to be perfect to be a specialist at something, and you don't have to feel like it to be special. We already know. We see it in you. A lot of us give our best every time we're asked. We don't learn that by accident. That's an acquired taste. That is a muscle that we build up. But this particular week, service specialist, find out what you are that could give you that label to wear, that badge to wear. If you had a name tag that said service specialist, what would you be doing? Where would you be? Shortcut. We always do shortcuts here at the Mark Lundholm Show. Shortcut today, if you have a gift, you have to give. And I heard Bob say this before, grateful. Grateful never fails. Grateful never relapses. Grateful never quits. Grateful never goes to jail. There's a whole bunch of grateful. I've had things in my life that I can't tell you about. I know that all people have some kind of privacy that they'd rather not make public. I get that. There's things that I've survived in my life that were so painful at the time that I thought, I'll never get over this. You know, I've had my heart broken. I've had other things broken. I get that. But that sense of relief of, whew, man, the world didn't allow that to happen to me. The world allowed me to survive it so I could help the next person who isn't sure they can survive. One of the specialties I have, people who are in a certain fellowship, we help the next one. You know, you want to get some, fine. When you get some, you got to give some, right? But the delicate part is, how much of that sounds like advice? How much of this sounds like I'm going to tell you what to do? That preachy, teachy kind of guy, I never hung out with that guy for very long. Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. As soon as you point your finger, I'm pretty much done. I figured that's your way to tell me, oh, I get it, you're talking to me. And if you need props, hey, you ain't that funny. Sorry, Carrot Top. If you need props, maybe you're not sure. So I said all that to say this. Bob, Mark, and a lot of people I know out there who watch this show on a regular basis, we serve. We serve the people who don't know yet how to serve. Now, not ignorant bigot, but ignorant. Ignorant means I don't have the information I need. Well, for some of us, we survive a situation, we get the information, and we pass it on to the next generation that doesn't have to go through it to know how to do it. I get a huge kick out of doing this show. I mean, I know you can tell, but some episodes I like more than others. That's just the way it works. I really enjoyed today. His name is Bob Greene. He's a friend of ours. He'll be back. Please know that like every other way you can help, you get to do it the way you do it, right? Your unique fashion and your talent are necessary. So, like we always say here, hashtag be first. Hope, grace, goodness, patience, support, energy, focus, service. If you don't see some out there, be some out there. You're in charge. I love having you here. Always welcome back. Later.